Welcome to Caffeinated Flicks. I'm Celeste.
And I'm Kenzie. We're two chicks who drink coffee
and celebrate flicks from diverse directors.
If you like what you're hearing so far, take a moment to follow us in your favorite podcasting app.
And give us a rating or review. Here's the show.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Billy actually just got home with some flowers. They're so pretty.
What kind?
I have no idea.
Well, I see a lily. I see a couple of different not calla lilies, tiger lilies.
All I know is
some baby's breath.
A rose.
Maybe
There's
some
a yellow rose in here.
Aw.
It's just a little bit of everything.
What's so pretty?
I know.
A little jelly, not gonna lie.
Oh, don't be.
I can't remember. Well, do you have a favorite flower?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Just any flower?
I'm not picky. Yep. Whatever's on sale.
Whatever's
in season.
You're like, hold on, let me clarify. Whatever's on season, that is generally what's on sale. That is amazing. Oh, how sweet.
I know. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Just wrapping things up for this week. So very excited about that. I'm officially done with work for this week. So super
that's
excited.
Because you leave tomorrow.
Yes, leave tomorrow.
How exciting.
So by the time this comes out, though, I will have left for another trip, actually. So by the time this comes out, I will be in New York. So.
Oh my gosh, so fun.
Yep. I know. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it. I'm enjoying all this random travel. So
I know. Good for you. You deserve it.
Thank you. I've wanted to travel for so stupid long. And so I'm very excited to finally be able to make it happen.
I know. Actually,
credit cards be damned.
Oh, well. YOLO. There's no enough money and there's never the perfect time. So you just got to do it.
Right. Exactly. I could be completely debt free by 30, but I'd rather go out and do things. Yeah. I didn't necessarily want to say live. People can live on and pay all their bills too. But
actually enjoy life.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think what you're thinking of is surviving.
Yes, I do plenty of that. So I'm transitioning from surviving to living.
Good.
Is what I'm doing.
As
slowly but surely. Right?
That's
so
awesome.
What has your caffeine or non-caffeine intake been today?
Oh, today I did actually have some caffeine. I did technically. I had a matcha smoothie from Jamba Juice because I realized I had a little $3 off. So I'm like, well, might as well use it.
I love that. Dude, I can't even remember the last time that I went to Jamba Juice. Actually, I think I do remember. I think I remember the last time I went to Jamba Juice was because Richard was out. I think he was having a guys' night or something like that. And all I wanted was froyo. And the two froyo places that are right next to me, one was half down, the store was having work done on it or something like that, like a facelift. And then the other one, all of the vegan option was completely out. And I was like, you motherfuckers. So there was a Jamba Juice and I was like, all right, well, I want something cold and ice cream so I will go and get a smoothie bowl or something from Jamba Juice. And it was nowhere near as good as what I wanted. It was very sad.
That is sad. No, the only reason I haven't been to Jamba Juice in a while either, but because it was pumpkin spice season and I didn't want to miss out.
Yes.
They have a pumpkin spice kind of smoothie, which is so delicious because they have a plant-based one that's made with oat milk.
Right.
So tasty.
Yeah. So why did you get matcha then? I'm so confused. How did you go from pumpkin to matcha?
Because I've already gone a few times.
Oh, you forgot to mention that.
I've made the switch from coffee to smoothies.
So you're still a beverage girly, is what you're saying.
Yes. It's all about the experience. going out and getting a little something.
I am here for it.
It's the little things.
It's living. Remember, it's living,
Yeah,
not just
that
surviving.
keep me going. I literally need it.
I know. I've been like online window shopping for like Christmas gifts, and I have like a cart of like $400 worth of books for
Oh my
people that I
gosh.
want to give for Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
I have not bought it yet, but it's still there. It is in my cart. So we shall see. This might
Isn't
be
it annoying that when you still opt for something that's like on the cheaper side or more economical for like everyone, it still adds up to be a shit ton of money.
I think it's just because we know too many people. We need to start
I
making
know.
some cuts.
We do. We really do. Christmas needs to be like a raffle. Like, okay, this person gets gifts this year. Sorry, everyone else.
It's a white elephant gift exchange. You just buy one present and somebody has to get it.
Yes, exactly. We need to start doing more of those.
I love it. Well, today I had some Hawaiian coffee cold brew. So that was pretty good. But nothing else too special. But I do have these coffee chapsticks, and they are amazing smelling. Like I have a vanilla latte one and a caramel macchiato one. And I like to just put on my chapstick and just be like,
oh my gosh. It sounds delicious.
right? It smells so good. It smells like the best candle there ever was. There actually is a third coffee flavor in the coffee chapstick pack. It's a mocha one or something. Oh, it's a mint mocha.
Ooh.
That's what it is.
Is this Smacker's brand?
No,
What
it's
is it?
chapstick brand. It's actual chapstick brand.
Oh, the actual I didn't know chapstick was a brand. I thought chapstick was just chapstick.
No, lip balm is what chapstick is. But chapstick, much like Kleenex.
I thought lip balm was more just the glossiness, just for looks.
No.
Chapstick
Nope, that's lip gloss.
is for looks and for hydration. In my opinion.
Mostly hydration. But yeah, no, chapstick is equivalent to Kleenex's to tissue. So
I did not know.
You now know. You've been
now
learned.
I know. I've been learned.
So today we are discussing Scary Movie from the year 2000. I forgot just how poorly this movie ages. Like, it is so cringy. And we will get into a lot of that, but it is so cringy.
I watched it with Billy, and he's like, "Are you doing the notes for this?" And I was like, "Thank God I'm not." He's like, "I wonder how you guys are going to go about this." I'm like, I have no idea.
I don't either, but I've taken notes. It has been put to paper, and we will see.
Just see how it turns out.
Yep. So remind me what your history with Scary Movie is.
Oh my goodness. This was 2000.
Mm-hmm.
We were babies when it came out.
I know.
I remember my uncles loved these movies. This was like the beginning of like the parody movie era.
Yeah.
Because there were so many after this.
Them are by the same director.
Are they? Yes. But no, I just remember my uncles loved these movies. And again, yeah, they were very problematic. But at the time, for me, were entertaining and hilarious. And now I look back and I'm like, oh dear God.
There's something about being like 12 or 10 and you really don't understand why it's not great, but you think that it's hilarious because it's like got half of it is fart jokes, half of it is poop jokes, like, and then you've got sexual jokes in there that you don't really understand when you're like 10. So
you got your weed jokes, your all of that stuff.
Everything. I don't actually remember when I first watched this movie, but I do know that I was like a tween or like a young teen. And I don't remember being all that impressed with it, honestly. But I do remember that my favorite of the Scary Movies series is the third one because it parodies The Ring and Signs, which I love both of those movies. So I thought it was freaking hilarious. But I do know that, oh gosh, I think like a year ago, I had my cousin over, and at the time she was like 14, 15, and she had wanted to watch all of the Scary Movies. So we sat down and we watched Scary Movie 2, Scary Movie 3, and then I don't remember if I don't think we got into 4 or 5, but we did watch all the way up until 3. And at first, Richard was like, this is dumb. I'm not watching it. But by the 3rd one, he was like, we need to watch this every year.
Oh, God.
So we'll see how that works. I will be skipping this one as I'm a semi-professional and I watch Scary Movie like 1.5 times. So for the note taking to make sure that I didn't miss too many details. But shall we get into it?
Yes, let's get into it.
Right. So this movie was directed by Keenen Wayans. Wayans brothers are very well known in movie and comedy and writing careers. But Keenen was born on June 8th in New York City, and that makes him a Gemini. So he's got that dual souls thing going on. And
sorry,
I saw you almost choke on your water.
No. I'm like, what? But then I'm like, I'm not going to ask.
So he is the second of 10 children.
Oh my Lord.
So I know. So when we say Wayans brothers, like that's only half of them. I know. Well, this is an example of one of those times when I found so much information about Keenen. Like there's so much out there. I only had to go through like one source and it was like 2.5 pages long. And I was like, good freaking Lord. But then
that's
I
amazing.
cross-checked it. I know.
Because then it makes it easier.
But then you have to decide what to cut out. But anyway, so he was the first in his family of entertainers to achieve national prominence when he successfully created, launched, wrote, and hosted and starred in Living Color in 1990, which he was part of for 2 seasons. His talented siblings include Damon, Kim, Sean, and Marlon Wayans, many of which he actually does creative projects with. And when he was growing up, he actually majored in engineering at Alabama's Tuskegee University, but then dropped out his senior year, like literally a semester before he graduated, so that way he could pursue comedy full time. He started out his comedy career by going back to New York and then moved out to Los Angeles to pursue film and TV opportunities, for which he found success. He began with small parts on shows such as Chips, The Renegade, and Cheers. And I will say, in all honesty, the only one that I know of is Cheers. The other 2 are unfamiliar to me. But then he moved on to bigger roles in other shows such as For Love and Honor, Hill Street Blues, Benson, and A Different World. Hill Street Blues is vaguely familiar, but that's about the only one.
Yeah, I don't know the other ones either.
So while he was in New York, he became friends with Robert Townsend. And after moving to LA, they became very fast friends and they partnered with Wayans being the writer and starring in Hollywood Shuffle. And then Wayans went on to write, direct, and act in 1988's I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, which is a 70s blaxploitation parody. So here's where we get the start of parodies for Keenen Wayans. This provided him the platform to create, write, and star in Living Color initially. And then he also provided roles in Living Color for his siblings, Damon, Kim, Sean, and Marlon. And then he continued to write, direct, and act in several more movies throughout the 90s. And then he directed and appeared in a minor role in today's crude horror film spoof, Scary Movie. This features prominently his brothers Sean and Marlon, who were also co-writers, and was a blockbuster hit from the get. So the following year, he directed the sequel, Scary Movie 2, which is hilarious because if you ever saw the movie poster for Scary Movie, it said no sequels on the top of it.
Yeah, I do remember that. All I remember
So-
from the second Scary Movie 2 is the guy with the hands
Oh
in the
my
haunted
gosh.
house.
Yeah. Mhm.
That like stuck with me for life.
I know. Same. That and David Cross's character, where he's in the wheelchair and he, like, it will forever haunt me, is the scene where he gives himself head in
Oh Lord.
the wheelchair. Yeah. So that forever stays with me. And I apologize to everyone. So Keenen then went on to create other hits such as White Chicks, which we will do at some point in time, Little Man, and Dance Flick, which is a parody movie on all the dance movies, such as Step Up. So
I know there's other parody movies because I remember there being a parody one for Twilight.
oh my gosh, yes, I do remember that came out. I couldn't hardly believe it. And then there's another one, which I don't think Keenen Wayans directed, but Not Another Teen Movie, which makes a parody of like She's All That and some other teen movies. So, but yeah, this was prime real estate for parody movies.
Oh my goodness.
So the cast of today's film includes Anna Faris, Marlon Wayans, Regina Hall, Sean Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans, Carmen Electra, Shannon Elizabeth, Dave Sheridan, Lachlan Monroe, John Abrams, Sherry Odery, and several others. But one of the ones that makes me laugh is Kurt Fuller, predominantly because of my love of Psych, where he plays Woody. He plays a coroner, and he's hilarious. But those are our top cast. Some fun facts about the cast, specifically in the characters that they play. So Scary Movie is a parody movie that combines Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. So Anna Faris plays Cindy Campbell, and this is a parody off of Neve Campbell's role as Sydney Prescott. Bobby Prince, who is played by John Abrahams, is referencing Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character in I Know What You Did Last Summer and combining with Skeet Ulrich's character in Scream, Billy Loomis. Drew Decker is referencing Drew Barrymore in Scream, who played Casey Becker, and this is played by Carmen Electra. Buffy Gilmore is referring to Sarah Michelle Gellar, who is the star of Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, and she also was one of the main characters in I Know What You Did Last Summer. However, Sarah Michelle Gellar also starred in the second Scream movie. So that's the only crossover where the actor that they're parodying was actually in both films. Gail Hailstorm is Courtney Cox's character of Gail Weathers in Scream.
So she also parodies or is parodying because there was a little, oh my gosh, we're going to do the movie. Blair Witch Project. Runs into the forest and they get like
I did make a note of that.
Of her and like all the boogers. Yeah. So she.
Yep. I did. I made a note of that. So we will let you know when that happens. And then Ray, who's played by Sean Wayans, is playing off of Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character's name, Ray Bronson. And then Greg, played by Lachlan Monroe. Greg Philippe is a play on Ryan Philippe's character in I Know What You Did Last Summer. So lots of back and forth between names and characters, because you can do that when you have a parody.
Yeah.
So shall we do the ratings?
Let's do it. All right. So 10 out of 10. What are you waiting for? Oh, stop criticizing this movie. If you have seen the movie's Scary Movie spoofs on, the joke per minute ratio in the classic slapstick comedy is unmatched. This is guaranteed to make you laugh if you're a fan of horror, especially Scream. Just sit back and enjoy, and remember the Wayans Brothers was a good show. Did you ever watch that? The Wayans Brothers?
I did not.
I don't think I did either. You? No.
They make a reference to it in this as well.
Did they?
I will point it out. Yep. So the 1 out of 10 is Sneak Puke. I got to see the sneak preview of Scary Movie last Thursday night. So this came out in 2000. And they saw it for free. I remember hearing about the movie back when they were going to call it Scream, If You Know What I Did Last Summer, and was looking forward to it. I heard last week that Mom and Pop Wayans left during the premiere. I now understand why. The movie had its funny points when I laughed heartily. Those were few and far between. Most of the time, I was embarrassed to be in the theater with the people I was with. Many of the sight gags had me gagging. This movie was definitely more gross than funny.
Can you imagine having a movie and then your parents walk out of the screen?
To be fair, I'm surprised my parents partake in any of my artistic endeavors, mostly for the sake that I'm like, what if they don't like it?
Oh.
Like this here podcast. I know my mom doesn't listen to it, which is fine. And I know my dad listens to it. And sometimes when we're making jokes, I'm like, my dad's going to hear this.
I know it's hard to watch what we're saying. I'm like, I need to remember Billy's listening. My mom listens.
But at the end of the day, you just got to let your freak flag fly. So shall we get into the movie then?
Yeah.
All right, let's get this over with.
That's the spirit.
Yeah. So, as mentioned previously, this is a parody of 1996 Scream and 1997's I Know What You Did Last Summer. Some other movie references that we will talk about include Thinner, Kill Bill, and as you mentioned, Blair Witch Project, along with a couple of others. So, we open on Carmen Electra as Drew Decker, reenacting the beginning of Scream that Drew Barrymore had originally played. So she gets a phone call while she's making some popcorn, and the killer on the phone says, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And she says, "Kazam, that one with Shaq plays a genie." And the killer responds, "That's not a horror movie." Drew says, "Yeah, well, you never seen Shaq act." So burn on Shaq.
Rude.
I know. And then the killer asks Drew if she knows where he is, and he has her check the backyard. And just when she turns on the lights, we have a Prince impersonator who is very well made up. And she says, "That's not my boyfriend." I think she says, "That's just some guy I fucked once."
Yeah, she's like, I fucked him, but that's it.
So then the killer asks if she locked all the doors, and just then the doorbell rings. And when she goes to open it, she beats the crap out of some trick-or-treaters with a bat. So these poor trick-or-treaters, they're just laying on the floor. "My leg, I think it's broken." She just says sorry and closes the door. And at that point in time, the killer says, "I'm inside the house." And we see him from behind her point of view, and he goes to attack her. As she's running away, she has the opportunity to grab either a knife, a gun, a grenade, or a banana. And of course, she chooses the banana and continues to run away. She eventually gets outside, and the killer catches up to her, ends up grabbing both her skirt and her blouse, ripping them away as she runs away. And so she's in this white lacy underwear. And just then the sprinklers turn on, and we get a shot of her Baywatch running through these sprinklers. And just when the camera pauses, she does a slow-mo, wet, sexy dance. And then after a beat, she continues running. And she then gets caught by the killer, and he stabs her in the chest, pulling out a breast implant. And she gets away and continues running. And she sees her parents' car in the distance. Inside, we see that her father's distracted while he's driving. And while Drew is standing in the middle of the road, he hits her straight on. And suddenly we see her mom come up from giving him head and asks, "What was that?" And he says nothing and pushes her head back down. So I'm pretty sure, I haven't found any facts to back this up, but I'm pretty sure this is referencing Stephen King's Thinner from 1987.
I've never heard of it, never seen it. How is it referencing that? Do they hit something?
So,
do they run someone over?
Let me explain. So, one of my other favorite podcasts, Ruined, they ruin horror movies specifically. And they've done Thinner, Stephen King's Thinner. And the premise of the movie is that we have a lawyer who's with his wife, and they're going someplace, and he convinces her to give him roadhead. And at that point in time, he hits somebody of the Romani people, and he kills this older woman, and her husband comes out and curses him to become thinner until he dies from just losing so much weight and becoming basically nothing but skin and bones.
What the heck?
I know, it's a whole thing. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure, I have no facts to back it up, but I'm pretty sure that scene is referencing Stephen King's Thinner. So
okay, let's tell ourselves that.
Otherwise, I can't really figure out why it's happening other than the fact that for
It's
whatever
dirty.
reason, guys like Roadhead. I don't understand it. It just doesn't seem safe. I know that Nickelback even has a song about Roadhead called Animal. Like, it's a thing.
They just like had period, and if you can...
That's true. I canonically am not a dude, so I can't speak for or deny it, but
it does seem dangerous though.
It seems so dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not supposed to text and drive. You're not supposed to actually like eat and drive. There are reasons for this.
That's
I know.
More irresponsible.
So after that, we cut to Cindy at her computer in her room. She hears some rustling outside of her window, and all of a sudden, Bobby comes climbing through her window, scaring the shit out of her. So she screams, and this causes her dad to come in and investigate. Before he can get into the room, Cindy has Bobby hide behind her bed, and Cindy tells her dad that there was no screaming here. No, nobody screamed. I think it just happened outside the window. It's fine. And he explains to her, much like they do in Scream, that he's going out of town for a couple of days. However, he says that he's going out of town to lay low. And he has some quippy banter with her about his drug business, something about selling crack. And he references, I think he says Uncle Escobar or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I believe is a reference to Pablo Escobar.
So, yeah.
I'm assuming. I don't know of any other Escobar, honestly.
Right.
So after Cindy gets her dad to leave, Bobby pops up and they begin to make out to the song I Don't Want to Wait, which is the theme song of well-known TV show Dawson's Creek. And this calls James Vanderbeck, who is the star and is Dawson of Dawson's Creek, to climb to Cindy's window and realize, oh, I'm in the wrong set. So we get a short cameo of him, but then we get back to Cindy and Bobby making out. He wants more, but she says, no, that's not right now. And so Bobby is about to climb out the window and parodying the scene in Scream where Sydney, who's Neve Campbell, flashes Billy. Cindy flashes Bobby, and we see a man's chest appear in the frame.
A very jiggly jello.
Very jiggly
chest.
With quite a bit of hair.
And then he falls out a second story window and is perfectly fine.
Yep, that is the nature of parodies.
Like, random side note, I think Anna Faris, I love her as a blonde.
I do too. I don't know what they did. Like, I'm pretty sure she's blonde naturally, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I've only ever seen her as a blonde everywhere else except for these scary movies. So, yeah. Fun
blonde
stuff. She's blonde, just suits her face better.
It does. It really does.
And you can't say that about everyone.
They say that brunette, like, is worse on people because it points out, like, your features. It makes, like, your flaws more prominent. They say, and then they say blonde meshes everything together. That's what I've heard. Obviously, I wouldn't know, but
I think they're liars. Neither would I. Dude,
I don't know. The way they said it,
I
made
would
sense.
never be a blonde.
I would like to see you as a blonde, just for funsies.
Oh my god, no!
I think you should do
like
it.
I already. Oh no! I put on a blonde wig one year for Halloween because I went as Britney Spears, and Richard just looked at me and he's like, you know what? I always wanted to see what you look like blonde, but now that I have, I don't ever want to see it again.
Oh my God. You can't trust a guy's opinion on that kind of stuff. I want to see it.
All right. If you're paying for it, I will make it happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So the next day, we're going to high school and we see that Brenda and her brother Shorty, who's one of the other Wayans brothers, are getting off the bus. They have some quippy banter back and forth. At one point in time, he says, your mom. And she's like, well, that's your mom. And he's like, oh, right. Well, then your dad. And she's like, well, I don't care. I never knew him. And he's like, me either. So that's about that. And then Brenda goes and finds Cindy. And just when they do, Cindy is waiting for her friend Buffy. And Brenda's like, I don't know why you hang out with her. And starts to say some shiz about her. And Buffy is being dropped off by her dad in this nice summer dress and cardigan. And she runs up to Cindy and Brenda and she asks, is he gone yet? And they say, yeah. And just at that point in time, she tears off her dress to reveal a skirt and a top that is very revealing. It shows some of her stomach and then quite a bit of cleavage that we never saw in that dress beforehand.
Yeah. All of a sudden it appears out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's like she grew like 2 cup sizes.
Yeah.
As soon as she pulls it off. So then Buffy is putting on some lipstick and Cindy tells her, you know what they do with that lipstick? They test on animals. And she shows them some pamphlets. And Buffy says, I'm really more of a people person. I really just want to focus on feeding the hungry, children, and being a humanitarian, essentially. And just right then, a homeless man pops up and asks her for $1. And this terrifies Buffy. She's like, oh my God, get away.
It reminds me of a Clueless. If.
There we go. Unofficial parody of Clueless.
Yeah.
Got it. So Cindy tells Buffy, look, he's just hungry. And she hands him a sandwich and says, here you go, a nice sandwich. He then proceeds to throw it straight at her head as they're walking away, saying, I asked for $1, bitch.
Oh my God, I think that happened to my mom. Did I tell you that? I think
No.
she told me how she gave someone, all she had on her was a banana. And then he was like, I'm not a fucking monkey. And he threw it at her.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I had a sort of similar scenario, but nobody threw anything at me. Actually, what happened was I was on the BART and there was a homeless man on the BART and he was asking for money and stuff. And all I had was a granola bar. And he looks at me, he hands it back to me and he says, I don't really like granola bars. And then he goes into his bag and he pulls out other granola bars and he asks me if I want them. And I was like, I guess. Like, how random. So that has always stayed with me. So after that, we see a barrage of reporters from several different news stations. And this is where we meet Gail Hailstorm. And she's reporting out that a murderer has killed one, and then this really annoying student who's behind her, she takes out a gun and she shoots him, and then she corrects herself, has killed 2 teens. So as all the reporters are taking all the photography, doing all of their newscasts, Buffy gets very excited and she wonders if the news wants to interview them. And Brenda really just says, they only want to interview dumbasses. And after that, we see her brother Shorty getting interviewed by all the reporters. And they're asking about how well he knew Drew and what he would have said if he was there with her. And his response was, run, bitch, run.
Also, when they're showing all the reporters, there's reporters of all Black people. And they're like, white people are dying. We gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
That's when you know
so
shit is
funny.
real.
Yes. That's when the shit has hit the fan. So we meet up with Ray and Greg, and they have lockers right next to each other. And Ray asks Greg, he's in this like yellow tank top. This is one of the other Wayans brothers. Does this tank top make me look gay? And then Greg says no. And then he takes it. And did you ever do this growing up where you took your t-shirt and you took the bottom, looped it through the top of it so that way it made like a Daisy Duke top?
Yes, but just for funsies by myself. I never actually wore that in public. Did you?
Yeah, no, definitely
Okay,
not.
good.
I was the kid who had a jacket for everything. Like I had short sleeve jackets so that way I could cover up more.
A short sleeve jacket?
Yeah,
oh my.
a short sleeve jacket. Yeah. I was even more self-conscious than I was the worst.
Well, it's a teenage girl for you.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so Ray does that and he turns to Greg and he says, well, how about now? And Greg says no. And just at that point in time, Greg starts losing his shit on his locker because he is looking at his recent test and it says that he failed and that he's a dumbass. And just at that time, our three ladies have come up to meet them at the lockers. And Buffy tells him, oh, no, you didn't fail. Look, there's an A in dumbass. And he says, oh, you're right. And he picks her up and they start to make out pretty heavy while Ray has his arm around Brenda and Cindy is asking where Bobby is. And Ray says, it's so weird that he's late. He lives so close. We then get a sneak preview of the trailer that Bobby and his family live in that is literally right outside the front doors of the high school. So,
but first, saying goodbye to like all 50 million family members in that tiny little trailer. Yes.
Yep. There were so many. So later we see the gang all at the water fountain. So we've got our 6 main characters who are all paired up in couples. So we've got Brenda with Ray, Cindy with Bobby, and Buffy with Greg. And Cindy's quandering, isn't it weird that Drew's murder happened a year after last Halloween when that thing happened? And the guys are like, we said we never talk about that. And we get a flashback. This is where we specifically get the I Know What You Did Last Summer parody. So we cut to all sex.
All sex.
All sex.
Well, technically,
nope. All sexing. All 6 teens in the car. And Cindy and Bobby are up front. And the other pairs are in the back seat going at it like bonobos. Like heavy petting. The guy's taking off the girl's underwear. And there's a scene where Brenda's underwear is taken off. And it's like really large granny panties. And she's like, what? It was laundry day. So...
which is so funny because for me, it's the opposite. Like I wear my comfortable panties. And then when I run out, this might be TMI, is when I go through like all my thoughts.
That's when Billy knows it's a good day. Oh, I love that. So Bobby wants Cindy to also get a little bit intimate with him while everybody else is in the back basically getting it on. And so to do that, he unzips his pants while he's driving. And she's shocked by this. Meanwhile, Greg gets very excited and he stands in the car through the sunroof. And suddenly there are branches that are hitting him in the face. He drops his giant bottle of Jack Daniels, which lands on Cindy's head, causing her head and her mouth to fall into Bobby's lap. Greg, yes,
Bobby's lap with his dick and her
now. Bobby is just like, oh. And then Greg regathers his balance by standing on top of Cindy so she cannot get up from Bobby's dick. So he is very happy about this and takes his hand off the wheel, closes his eyes, and is just relaxing into it. Due to the fact that absolutely nobody is paying attention to the road, they hit someone on the road. So they all stop the car, they spin into a tailspin, and all of them then get out of the car. They freak out. They're not sure what happened or what they hit. They see a boot on the road, and then they see the man lying in the middle of the road. And they begin to freak the fuck out. Cindy wants to call the cops, and Greg is extremely opposed to this. He's like, do you know what they do to young men in prison? And then Ray's like, oh no, Cindy, call the cops. Because as we will find out throughout this movie, he is closeted, but doesn't
so
want to
we
come
think.
out. I don't think there's a so you think about it.
There's like one moment at the end where he's like, I'm not gay.
Well, yeah, but like I said, he's closeted. He doesn't want anybody to know.
Gotcha.
So the man gets up while they're all arguing behind him, and he says, no, it's okay. Just go. I'm fine. And as he goes to leave, they say, what are we going to do? How are we going to get rid of the body? And then they're talking about it. And he's like, well, what about the alcohol? And Greg throws the alcohol bottle behind him, hitting the man on the head, causing him to collapse onto the floor again. And at this point in time, they're like, okay, we're going to dump the body in the ocean. So the three guys go to pick up the body. Bobby says, I'm going to grab his arm. Greg says, I'm going to grab his other arm. Ray says, I'm going to grab his ass. And they throw him into the trunk. So the group takes the body to the waterfront and dumps the body in. And at that point in time, we return from the flashback. And they say, no, it's not like we're in a scary movie or anything like that. This is fine. It's not related at all. And then they start joking about the fact that if they were in a scary movie, Cindy's character would be played by, what's her name? Jennifer Love Big Tits or something like that. And that the rest of them would be played by adults in their 20s and 30s pretending to be high schoolers. And then they all have a good chuckle about that. So they go on with their day, and we turn back to Gail Hailstorm out front of her news truck or news van, and she is eager for a story. Here she meets Doofy, who's a play on David Arquette's character of Dewey, and he is a very interesting character. He is mentally probably a 5-year-old, maybe, in like a 25-year-old body. So,
yeah.
She, no, you're fine. Do you have something to say?
No,
about
I don't
honestly?
either. Like I'm thinking
just
too
like,
far ahead,
good
but then
Lord.
I'm like, oh no, I know, yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah. So she is really putting the moves on Doofy, and this is a parody of Courtney Cox's relationship with Dewey in Scream and throughout the Scream series. Sorry, I was going to call it a trilogy, and that is not correct. I think there's
so
at least
many.
5.
I just realized in the last Scream, we have Mr. Hunky. That was just he's in the last one, and he does not resemble himself somehow. So the guy from the wedding day, the one with the weird name.
Oh,
something
Dermot Mulroney.
Oh, Dermot. Dermot is one of the main characters in the last Scream.
I heard
and
that.
I did not like. It doesn't look like it. They're not the same people.
Like I said, he's just really hot in The Wedding Date. Like, he's not that hot in My Best Friend's Wedding. He can be attractive in other movies. He's just the hottest. His peak hotness is The Wedding Date.
Something about him playing a hooker.
It's what we all want. Anyway, so while Gail is putting the moves on Doofy, the principal makes an announcement to the whole student body that he'll be inviting all the students in because they have to interview them for the police. And afterwards, Hale invites Doofy into her van, and he gets very excited. There's a line in their conversation about the fact that she's like, oh, is that drool? And he says, yeah, I forgot to swallow. And she says, don't worry, I never forget to swallow. Or something of that nature. She sticks
his fingers like in her mouth and sucks on her. It's just a very gross scene.
Yeah, that's so gross. Not my favorite. So we then turn back to the classroom where we see a teacher who is spouting on about why they need prayer in school, all while breastfeeding a child. And then she says, now I'm going to hand you back to your daddy. And she hands him to one of the male students in the front row. And she turns to the one next to him and says, "I will see you after class." And then they high five each other.
Yeah.
So she's asking who's ready to give their oral presentation. And the student named Heather is the only one who wants to give her presentation. And the teacher, very annoyingly, is like, anyone? Fine, Heather. So in the classroom, Heather starts to give her presentation. And Cindy is not paying attention at all, but rather staring out the window when she sees the killer. She turns away for just a second, and he goes and he runs behind a tree. And when she turns back, she doesn't see him anymore. At that point, she looks down at her desk and sees a note. "I know what you did last Halloween." And then she daydreams about this very gross picnic that she had with Bobby, where he basically mouth fucks her with a hot dog. I'm very confused about it.
I was like, wait, what was gross about it? I'm like, it seemed sweet to me. And then I forgot about the hot dog mouth fucking.
Like, I was fine until that happened.
Right?
I was like,
It looks like the
no,
perfect
thank you.
fall picnic up until that point.
Right. When she comes back from the flashback, there's another note at the end of her desk that says, "No, bitch, I'm talking about the guy you killed." And she starts to freak out. Just then, the teacher tells Heather to shut up and pushes her over. And then we cut to the sheriff, who once again is played by Kurt Fuller. And he's in the principal's office, and he asks, "Who's next?" And they say Cindy, and they refer to, "Oh, Cindy's the daughter of that." And they just start grunting and making sexual movements with their hands and sexual sounds. So she obviously got around, which is another play on Scream, because one of the reasons Nev Campbell's character's mom was known was because she slept around with the neighborhood, essentially. Cindy is pulled into the principal's office, and the sheriff says that they want to ask her some questions about Drew, but she says she didn't really know her, and that's all I'm going to say about that scene. So we turn to the football field where Ray and Greg are football players. They're doing drills and practicing, and then they say, "All right, that's it. Everybody hit the lockers." And Ray says, "Woo!"
He's very excited.
So once in the locker room, Ray asks Greg whether or not he's going to be showering, and Greg says, "No, I'm going to hit the punching bags." And at that point, Ray then decides to say, "All right, everybody, to the showers," and he starts towel whipping. What is that called?
I don't know, but there are a lot of butts.
There are a lot of butts.
A lot of
There
male
are
butts.
a lot of butts in this movie.
I feel like we see more male nudity than we do female, which is shocking.
I know.
That is true equality here. Isn't that ironic? Because normally it's the other way around.
I know. We just see a lot of suggestive female nudity, but we don't actually see, I don't think any
I don't think we do.
actual female nudity.
There was, at the beginning, there was like a Playboy magazine that had
Oh, yeah, that's
nudity,
right.
but that was it. No actual.
Yeah.
Just.
There's a lot of reference to women having sex and making jokes about women having sex, but I don't think there's actually any female nudity.
I don't think there is.
So I still don't remember what it's called.
The towel whipping?
Yeah, the towel whipping. So he towel whips everybody into the showers. Well, Greg goes and he hits the punching bag, and it certainly punches back and knocks him on his ass. And then he gets back to the locker room where he sees at his locker there's a picture, a Polaroid. And this is a very threatening Polaroid to him because it is a micro penis, essentially. Just a tiny penis. He calls it a baby penis. And he gets extremely upset, and he's screaming out into the locker room, asking for whoever did this to show their face. And he compares having a baby dick to having a disability, and nobody comes out. He's by himself. So he comes back to the water fountain, raging mad, and he accuses Ray of being the one to leave this baby dick photo.
I love how it shows everybody.
He does. Yeah. He's like, who did this?
Outs himself.
Pretty much.
Micro dick.
And then while everybody's laughing, Cindy says, "You're not the only one who got one." And Greg looks to her and he says, "Oh, does Bobby have a baby dick too?" And she just turns down and she's like, "No, I got a threatening note too." And this is where she says, now we have to call the police. And at this point in time, Greg is extremely upset about it and pummels Cindy into the ground.
Literally beats the shit out of her. And everybody just watches.
WrestleMania elbows her in her side. Like,
kicks her while she's down.
Yep. And what's hilarious is after he warns everybody that if anybody else decides to go to the police, that will happen to him too. She on the ground does like the hand to forehead, like fainting move.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So now we are back to parodying I Know What You Did Last Summer. And we have Buffy participating in a beauty contest. And we have Greg, Ray, and Cindy on the rafters watching. And Cindy goes someplace. Ray decides to go to the bathroom. And so Greg is left on the rafters by himself. So they are doing the talent portion of the beauty contest. And Buffy says that she will be acting as her talent.
Doing a dramatic scene or something like that.
Yeah, a dramatic scene. Yep. She looks up at the rafters right as she's about to start and sees the killer behind Greg and goes into this wild fit, crying hysterically, screaming hysterically about the killer's behind him. Why won't anybody do anything? No, he's killing him. He's killing him. And then she cries. Everybody is blown away by her quote unquote performance. And
they're like, she's really good.
She's really good. And they give her a standing ovation as she runs behind the stage. And as she does, she's crying hysterically. And they say, "The winner is Buffy." And one of the other contestants says, "Buffy, you got to go back out there. You won." And she's like, "But Greg," and then she's like, "Oh wait, I won? Fuck you. Come on, let's do this."
And then Cindy's like, "But wait, what about Greg?" She's like, "Screw Greg."
Like, Greg. So she goes out, collects her tiara and her roses. Everybody in the audience is throwing roses and glitter at her. And then as she gets to the front of the stage, a woman throws a vase of roses at her, causing her to collapse off the stage. Now I have to remember where I'm at. So after the beauty contest, Bobby, Buffy, and Cindy are all discussing where could have Greg gone? He's probably just pulling one of his stunts. And behind them, we see the killer with a mop. He's cleaning up his mess. He even has Greg in a trash bag and he's dragging him along. But they're just like, no, I'm sure he'll turn up. After this, we cut to Cindy in the tub and she's shaving her armpits when she gets a call. It's Bobby and he's asking what she's doing. She's like, "Oh, I'm in the tub tonight. I'm gonna just be at home." And he's like, "Can I come over?" And she's like, "No, not tonight." And while she's talking to him, she's shaving her armpits and then she goes to shave her face. And at one point in time, when she finishes the call, she shaves her tongue. So she goes to relax into the tub. And this is where we have one of our fart jokes. One of our many fart jokes. And then she gets another phone call and she tells Bobby, she's like, "Bobby, I told you no." And the voice on the line is from the killer saying, "I know what you did last Halloween." So she very quickly gets dressed, runs downstairs, locks the front door when she gets another call from the killer.
Runs downstairs with dry hair, may I add.
Well, her hair was up. Her hair was up.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was judging.
Yes, you were harsh. You know, when you've got really thin hair, it dries in minutes.
Sorry.
I know. Yours takes like 3 hours. Mine takes like an hour and a half.
If I put my hair up when it's still like slightly damp, it'll still be wet the next day.
It'll be wet forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the killer. He is calling her and he says, can you guess where I am? And she's freaking out. She's heading into her living room. And as she's looking around, she sees his feet from behind the couch. And so he's like, fuck. Well, turn around. Let me hide again. And so he goes to hide again. He's trying to hide underneath the rug in the, sorry, I was going to call it carpet. And I was like, that's not right. No, he's trying to hide underneath the rug. And then he's like, this isn't going to work. And then as she starts to turn back around, he's like, nope, you turn back around. And so then he goes and he hides behind the curtain, but he's left his hook out of the curtain so she can see it. And he says, now can you find me? And she's like, oh no, I can't find you, Mr. Scary Killer. And he's like, I'll give you a clue. And he runs out from behind the curtain and runs into the ficus that they have in their living room and stumbles over it. She runs upstairs, and this is the longest staircase I've ever seen.
Look, as she's have like 2 levels to it.
I know,
because it was a weird staircase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was super weird. But anyway, so she's running away from him up the stairs, and while she's running away, she sees a vase and she throws it at him. There's a bicycle on the stairs and she throws it at him. Her grandma comes over to her on the middle level and she throws her down the stairs at him. And then as she gets to the top of the stairs, there's a giant piano, and she goes to push it over the stairs. He sees it. He starts running away. It doesn't get him, but it does run into her poor grandma.
So we're assuming she's
bye, grandma.
She's never mentioned again.
No, I was surprised she was mentioned in the first place.
I know. Where did she come from?
Nobody knows. So she gets to her computer. She pulls up the police 911 website where she texts or types onto the prompt, "What's your emergency?" And it just says, "White woman in trouble." And we cut to the police on their way faster than you can see a white bread.
Multiple police cars. So
they're like, there's a white woman in trouble.
Yep. Send everyone. Wait, so was that ever like a thing where you can contact 911 via the web?
I don't know, but I think so. I know that you can technically text 911 now, but I don't know how any of that works.
I don't know either. Wild.
Yeah. I don't know where you go to find that website, but anyway.
Who knows?
So,
okay.
Yeah. While the police are on their way, the killer tries to get into her room, and because he hears the sirens, he hightails it out of there, and she hears rustling in the trees behind her, and Bobby climbs through her window again. He goes and he consoles her a little bit and drops gloves, a knife, and a phone. So much like in Scream, she thinks that he's the killer, and the police show up. She runs downstairs. She opens the door to Doofy holding the ghost face mask, and she screams, and he says, "Oh, it's okay. It's just me. It's just me. We're going to catch this guy." So they're in the police station now, and we see Cindy sitting down while Bobby is being taken away. And the sheriff comes over to Cindy. He's like, "Okay, you've had a very rough night. I don't want to keep you much longer. I just need to ask you a few more questions." And he hands her a bunch of photos of him in a Speedo doing various poses. And he's like, "Anything from these?" And she's like, "No,
she's like
definitely not
phased at all. She just goes,
no."
Also, I wonder if that is actually him, or if they just photoshopped his face onto someone's body, or if this poor man had to actually pose in this Speedo.
Knowing the type of roles that Kurt does, I'm pretty sure that was actually him. Because I'm pretty sure he's also done something similar in Psych.
Oh
like,
my. Okay.
This is just who he is. So after that, Buffy comes into the police station, and she comes to get Cindy out and take her back to her house. She tells Doofy that their mom is in the car and that it's time for him to go home. He is not happy about this. He's like, you're supposed to respect me as a man of the law. And then she says some harsh words back, mostly referring to the fact that he likes to fuck a vacuum cleaner.
Stop getting your dick stuck in the vacuum or something like that.
Yep. And so then they start to leave the police station. Outside is a whole bunch of news reporters, including Gail Hailstorm and her cameraman Kenny, who is also the name of the cameraman in Scream. And she's berating him for also being fat, much like Courtney Cox's character did in Scream. So as she is waiting for Cindy to come outside, they go to catch Cindy coming out of the police station, and Gail just tells her that her ass looks fat, and Cindy decks her. So after this, we cut to Shorty sitting in a chair, looking stoned, and he gets a call, and the caller happens to be the killer. And this is where we get the iconic "What's up?" scene that was all over everywhere after this movie.
Everywhere. Oh my God.
Everywhere. So the killer asks, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Watching the game, smoking some bud." And then one of his friends or roommates, or I don't know what they are, but his friends comes up and he says, "What's up?" And then Shorty's like, "What's up?" And the killer's like, "What's happening?" And then Shorty calls to his friend, "Pick up the phone." And then he goes, "What's up?"
This
and
turned
Shorty
into
goes,
like a
"What's
four-way
up?"
call.
Yeah, a 4-way call between 3 of them, all going, "What's up?" Do you think that was the right type of tone for "What's up"?
I think so. I think you nailed it. Yeah.
Yes. That is my next true calling.
Yeah.
Is to be the "What's up?" So after they're all done with that, Cindy is over at Buffy's house, and Buffy is asking Cindy, "Do you really think it was Bobby?" And Cindy's like, "I don't know." And Buffy's like, "Well, it has to be. He's too perfect otherwise. He's got the looks, he's got the personality, he's a great fuck." Like, and then Cindy's like, "What did you say?" And Buffy, it doesn't say anything and is interrupted by Doofy, who says, "Don't worry, Cindy. We're going to catch the guy that you dumped in the water." And Cindy is very upset. She's like, "You told him?" And Buffy's like, "Nobody's going to believe him. It's fine." They do use the R word in this quite a bit. So we're not going to repeat it, but it was very overused starting in the early aughts.
Oh,
so
yeah.
for a, how do you say that? Mentally challenged, mentally disabled? How do you, what is the proper
or
mentally challenged?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm like, what is the proper,
I know, yeah.
What is the
I know
proper
it's
word on
not
it?
like disabled anymore. I think just mentally impaired or challenged.
Yeah, I think it's mentally impaired. I think you're right with that. All right. So anyway, then Buffy's mom comes and knocks on the door and says, "Cindy, you've got a call." And so Cindy goes and she picks up the receiver, and it's the killer saying that they've got the wrong guy. Cindy then starts to freak out. The caller hangs up. Her mom calls for Doofy, and Doofy comes out of his room in his underwear and a t-shirt with the vacuum cleaner. And then he says, "I told you not to disturb me when I'm cleaning my room." Doo-doo-doo. Now we're back at school. Cindy and Ray are at lunch, and they're in the line. They're talking about Bobby, and she's like, "Do you think Bobby's really pissed?" And he's like, "No, I think it's fine." And she says, when you see Bobby again, will you tell him that I love him?" And Ray responds with, "Okay, when I see Bobby again, I'll tell him that I love him." At this point in time, Shorty comes over and he says, "Oh, this reminds me of this other thing that happened." And she says, "Oh, this happened to you at a previous school too?" And he's like, "No, I saw it in Scream."
I do not remember the
So-
scene. I will admit that I was starting to fall asleep.
I think that answers our
Okay,
caffeine
There
scale.
you go.
So anyway, Cindy says, you know what? I think we should all stick together tonight and everybody should meet at my house and you can tell a couple of other people, but don't tell everyone. Shorty then screams, "Party at Cindy's! Drunk women for everyone!" After this, Cindy then runs it straight into Bobby. And what? I'm not supposed to be hurt? That my girlfriend would rather think that I'm a killer than touch me? And she says, it's only been a year. And he says, since Ginger left the Spice Girls, you're going to have to get over it. And she responds with, I'm so sorry that my fucked up life doesn't fit in well with your perfect reality or something like that. And she flails away.
Can't blame her.
So
it was a sad time when the Spice Girls split up. I don't blame her.
So then outside of the school, the sheriff is doing a press conference and he says, you know what? Shit's going to happen. And Gail Weathers asks the sheriff about Cindy's father. Have you found him yet? I heard that he's a suspect. And he gets very upset about this. He's like, that's confidential information. Who's your source? And she's like, I can't reveal my source. And then Doofy, who's standing right behind the sheriff, comes up to the mic and says to everyone, hi, Gail. And then tells everybody, she swallows. And she stands there very sheepishly. So at this point in time, we transition to the girls' locker room, presumably after sports or gym or something. And Buffy tells the girls, watch this. And she grabs her phone and pretends that she's getting a phone call from the killer. And then, oh, Cindy, it's for you. So at this point in time, very much so. So their coach, Miss Mann, played by an American female bodybuilder, fitness model, and actress, Jane Trecca, warns the women in the locker room about the killer and starts to give them some safety tips about it and says, if anybody needs to talk, my door is always open. So Cindy then decides to take Miss Mann up on her offer and goes into her office to talk. We see Miss Mann smelling women's underwear as Cindy comes into the office and then puts it away very quickly, asking Cindy, what's wrong? And Cindy tries to explain, but Miss Mann makes assumptions. She's like, are you not feeling so fresh down there? And she's like, no, that's not what this is about. And Miss Mann gets up out of her chair, starts to walk around Cindy, saying, we all have our secrets. Some of us do this, that, and the other. Some of us change genders to win Olympic trophies or something of that nature. And basically, it's all in all just a very transphobic moment as there's a scene of balls coming out of her underwear and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah. All the phobics, or many phobics.
Yep. Especially since, like, this is a female bodybuilder. Like,
yeah.
They're making fun of that and trans women and all sorts of things. So, not great, but Cindy hightails it out of there. Afterwards, Buffy is in the locker room alone, and she hears Red Rum, which is a callback to The Shining. Red rum, if you don't know, is murder spelled backwards.
Yeah, I think I was in high school. My mom was working out in Colorado, and we visited the house. And we did a tour.
You visited the hotel?
Yeah. Oh, the hotel, yeah. And so we actually got to look up and see it. And yeah, so it was for that movie, and then also it was a reference to Dumb and Dumber. Is that the one?
Oh, really? With Drew Carey?
Yeah. They also filmed that movie there, too. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, we're part of it. Yeah. I don't know. So
the more you know. So, while Buffy is in the locker room alone, the killer pops out, and Buffy goes into over-dramatization of the poor hot girl who gets murdered trope. So she's like, am I supposed to scream bloody murder now? Am I supposed to fall now? And she is like, am I supposed to break my leg now? And she snaps it with the bone sticking out and everything. Gross. And she's like, oh, don't kill me, Mr. Killer. And then he goes and he decapitates her, but she still won't stop talking.
What movie is that from? I feel like that is from a movie.
I don't know. Could not tell
Someone
you.
was decapitated. They're still going.
I don't know. We'll have to look up that one.
We will.
So while she's still talking, she's like, you got blood on my Prada something or another. You're going to have to fix that. And he throws her into the trash bin. So after that, the remaining four students, the remaining four, Buffy, Bobby, Brenda, and Ray, walk out of the building. And we see on top of the building, there's a teacher preparing to jump. So the four of them are asking, why the killer would have called Cindy and why it would have been in Cindy's house. And she claims that the killer is messing with them. He knows that they can't go to the police. And Cindy screams out, oh God, what is it? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And the teacher takes this as his cue to jump. So he does.
Oy.
And that's the end of that scene. After that, we see Ray and Brenda getting things spicy in Ray's room. And she's wearing his jersey. And he says, oh, you look so sexy in my jersey. And she's like, oh, really? And a song comes on that she really enjoys. So she's starting to dance out to it. And he says, oh, look, here, put on my football pants. And so she does, doing a little sexily. And then he continues to ask her to put on even more of his football gear, including his shoulder pads and then his helmet. And he is getting all riled up from this. And she's very confused by this. And at one point in time, he calls her Brandon. He's like, no, I mean Brenda. That's the end of that scene, really. And then we turn to Gail Hailstorm at Lover's Lookout, where she finds Heather sitting alone in a car, and she interviews her and asks what she's doing here. And Heather says that she's there with her boyfriend, but they heard a noise, so he went to go check on that noise. But he's been gone for an awful long while now. And Gail tells her, I'm pretty sure he's been murdered, and you're probably next. So on cue, right, we see the killer. He comes, he drags her out of the car window and kills her. And then he begins to, on camera. And then he chases after Gail as she runs into the forest. And as you mentioned previously, we get that Blair Witch Project scene where she has a camera and she's got it pointed straight up her nose as she's crying and freaking out about the killer. And boogers are flying all over the camera lens. So that is a wrap on that scene. Now we are at the movies where Brenda and Ray are on a date. And this references specifically Scream 2 from 1997, where we've got Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith beginning at that movie as they go to the movies to watch. What do they call it? Stab? Is it Stab that they call it?
I have no idea. I thought it was a Titanic parody.
There's a small bit of it. That's the preview of the movie that they're saying. But I'm saying, like, in Scream 2, what is the Scream
I have no idea. I don't
movie? I'm pretty sure it's called Stab. Anyway, so Brenda and Ray are on this date. They're watching movie previews, and we have a movie that is about slavery, but we have like a Titanic spoof where we see Keenen, who is a slave, and says, I'm king of the world, as he is out at the front of the ship. And then that movie preview is over. So Brenda is being extremely rude in this movie theater and will not shut up to save her life. At that point in time, Ray goes to the bathroom before the movie starts and finds himself a glory hole. He's very excited about this glory hole. And when he hears somebody on the other side, he's like, who are you? What are you doing back there? And then he goes to put his ear to the glory hole, and we see a penis penetrate straight through both ears.
At that point, I'm like, what is this movie rated? We're seeing like a full-on penis. Like,
Pretty
penis
sure
is.
Yeah, several
Just
penises.
over?
Yeah,
That
I think
doesn't
it's just
seem like it's enough of that. This seems like MA or whatever is above
mature audiences.
mature audiences.
I think X is the only thing that I can think of. So anyway, so he is down for a count now, and we see Brenda in the movie, and we see the killer come up, snuggle up close to Brenda, and while she talks through the whole movie, which they're actually watching Shakespeare in Love.
Yes.
That's the movie that's
That
on the
is like
screen.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yes. Yeah. So she keeps talking about it, and then the other moviegoers are picking a fight with her because she won't shut up. They're just telling her to shush, and she's like, I have every right to be here, and blah, 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 blah. And the killer pulls his knife out, but one of the other moviegoers takes it and stabs Brenda. And then everybody starts to take a turn stabbing her.
Everybody has like their own shank, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody pulls out their knives.
Yep. Everybody pulls out their knives, their weapons. They're kicking her. They're punching her. They're just straight up attacking her. And this is, if you haven't seen Scream 2, at the very beginning, the killer comes and he kills Jada Pinkett Smith, but everybody, because there are so many people in Ghostface costumes with fake knives, they all think that it's part of the movie going experience. So nobody believes that she's dying. In this, they're celebrating the fact that she's dying because then they can watch Shakespeare in Love in peace. So now we turn back to Cindy's house where the party is raging.
Yeah, it is. Oh,
there's a random girl there who we have not met yet. And she asks her where more beer is, and she tells her that it's in the garage. So she goes out to the garage to get some, and then the killer shows up. This is a callback to Rose McGower. I think it's Rose McGower.
The chick from Charmed?
Yes, the chick from
yeah.
Charmed.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So her scene where she went to go get extra beer from the garage. So the killer shows up and begins to attack this random girl, and she tries to escape through the cat door that's in the garage door, but the killer hits the garage door opener. The garage door is struggling to lift up, as it would with any person in it, and the whole garage collapses on this girl. So
I love, like, I think one of my favorite scenes is when she sees the killer and they're like facing off, and she's like, but I'm not a main character or something like that. I'm just a day player. I don't get paid enough.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Like, yep. Love it.
So we go back to the party itself, and we see that Cindy has decided to stop freaking out and is instead chugging a beer funnel. I don't know exactly what it's called. I can't remember. I wasn't cool. I didn't go to parties in college. But
what about high school?
No, I was not allowed.
Oh, well, obviously no one's
not
allowed,
that I was invited. I also
wasn't invited.
Wasn't invited. Yeah.
You don't really get invited to those kinds of things. You should show up.
No. Oh, well, nobody told me about it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I didn't have cool friends.
Yeah, I didn't have friends either. I had like one friend who was invited to all the parties. So I was the tag
And
along.
you didn't go? Yeah. Oh, you did go.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever done a funnel. Whatever.
Okay, so it is called the beer funnel.
Beer funnel. I'm assuming.
I only know like kegs, like keg stands, but
Yeah.
that was not a keg stand. She had like a beer funnel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is. That's the only thing I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bobby shows up. She's drunk. She's like, all right, let's do this. And she takes him upstairs. They begin to make out to the point where they're doing a lot of tongue. So much tongue. And they're making it into a joke because their tongues get tied together.
I was thinking, like, how did they do that? Were they like, was it some type of like slime kind of rubbery stuff? And then they had to bite onto it. I'm like, it just sounds gross.
I'm hoping it was just special effects.
You're hoping, but
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. I'm going to tell myself that so I can sleep better at night. So we cut to Shorty with his friends, and he's underneath the blanket, and he says, "I see dead people." And this is a callback to The Sixth Sense. And at this point in time, the killer shows up with Shorty and all of his friends, and they just all decide to hit the bong. So we cut back to Cindy and Bobby, and they are going to Bone Town. So he desperately wants her to blow him. So he keeps pushing her head towards his dick, and he tells her after she says, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this." And he's like, "Oh, it's just like a Tootsie Pop." So she's making some moves, and then all of a sudden he screams out because she bites him and says, "Oh, I could never wait to get to the center." So then he decides, okay, that's enough of that. And he flips her over to try and reciprocate. And he pulls off her pants and pulls off her panties. And there's this astronomical bush that pops out. And he takes a weed cutter to it, essentially. And hair flying everywhere. Like a chain. Yeah, like a chainsaw to it. Yep. So he's going to town on this bush. And then we're back to the stoners, and they're all stoned out of their minds, and the killer starts making a prank-ish call. Like, he calls somebody, and he's like, "Do you know what? I know what you did," or something of that nature, and they all laugh about it. Now we cut back to Cindy and Bobby, and they're having some ferocious sex where Cindy is on top, and Bobby comes so hard that he has a fountain, like an Old Faithful size fountain of sperm, essentially, of jizz that comes out and glues Cindy to the ceiling.
Oh my.
I don't know how else to describe this other than just
there are no words.
Saying it as it is. Yep.
Calling it what it is, and that's literally what it is.
That's literally what it is. So once again, we're back to the stoners, and they're having their rap circle, and we have the killer who has the last rhyme, and he kills all the guys except for Shorty, at which point Shorty says, "That was the illest rhyme I ever heard." We finally cut back to Cindy and Bobby again, and they're getting dressed, and she asks why it took so long for Bobby to get there tonight. And just at that time, the killer shows up in her room and attacks Bobby. And Cindy and Bobby are about to leave when Shorty pops up, warning them about the killer. As he warns them, Bobby is at the front door and starts laughing. And he stands up, and he's completely fine. He says, "It's just ketchup," and then shoots Shorty dead.
With the smoke coming out of his. He's like, "He shot me right in the lungs." And he tries smoking his own.
He tries smoking his own
gunshot wound.
Yep. I forgot about that. So Ray shows up with a bandage over his ear. Just one ear. Just
because it only penetrated one ear, that penis.
Yep. And he's holding the voice modifier and reveals that he's the voice. And then Cindy turns to both Ray and Bobby and asks, "Why are you doing this?" And Bobby says, "Scream didn't have a plot. And I know what you did last summer didn't make any sense." And then says, "Abstinence makes you realize things about yourself." And he reveals, "I'm gay. And so is Ray."
I thought he said like they were in love or something. Or that just that they're gay.
I think it's just that they're gay. Okay. And then Ray says, "No, I'm not." And Bobby's like, "But you took me to San Francisco." And he says, "So? They've got all the best clothing markets out there." And he says, "But what about that club?"
He's like, "Yeah, but they play some good tunes or something like that. It's just good music."
Something of that nature. Basically, he's just playing it off. And then Ray goes to pull out Cindy's dad. And they say that they're going to frame Cindy and her dad for all the killings that have been happening. So I have a little bit of the script here. Do you feel like reenacting it with me?
Oh my lord. Okay.
Which one do you want to be?
I'll be Cindy.
Damn you.
Do you want to be Cindy? I'll be Ray. I have a good guy voice.
Fine.
In my
yes.
mind.
Oh my God. I've never heard this.
No, I don't. I don't know why I said
think
that.
that'll add to it.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Cindy.
All right. So you guys are psychos. You've watched too many TV shows.
No. Watching TV shows doesn't create psycho killers. Canceling TV shows does.
And he does this all while stabbing Bobby, one right after another.
The Wayans brothers was a good show, man. It was a good show, but we've never even gotten a final episode.
That was stellar.
I tried.
I love that so much. You did amazing.
And I agree.
I would give you an
TV
Oscar.
shows is terrible. Thank you. Thank you.
So after Ray has stabbed Bobby a shit ton of times, Bobby says, "It's my turn." And Ray says, "I don't think so." Just then, a third killer shows up and starts stabbing the shit out of Ray. They then go after Cindy, and we get a parody of Kill Bill, where Cindy, very kung fu, mid-air, stop action, flies up into the air and kicks the killer. And then at one point in time, he gets back up, and she grabs a ceramic plate. She starts to throw it like a frisbee, and he does a full back bend and then
There's
gets stuck there.
Matrix going on.
Yeah, I couldn't decide if it was Matrix or Kill Bill. Like, it was
I haven't
one of those
seen
two.
Kill Bill, but I remember specifically from the Matrix when they're like dodging the bullets or whatever. I don't
Yes.
know. In
Yeah.
slow mo.
Yeah. So I think you're right. It's probably the Matrix. I'm just pretty sure that move where Cindy was up in the air and stopped was from Kill Bill, but I could very well be wrong.
It's a little
I
bit
don't
of
know.
everything.
We will have to watch it and find it out. Then, while Cindy is still in the air, she starts to do a river dance, and the killer finally is able to get up. Cindy goes to release her father, and that's when they hear that the cops have finally gotten there, and her father's like, "Oh, remember, you don't know who I am. I'm just the plumber." And Cindy has kicked the killer out of the window, so she runs outside to see where the killer went, and she tells the sheriff, "He was right here."
It's every Michael Myers movie.
Yep, there we go. I like it. So then the sheriff takes Cindy down to the station. Doofy walks in and he gives Sheriff a file, and the sheriff said it couldn't have been him because it has to be somebody who could lay low and no one would suspect anything. This is where Cindy starts to do math gymnastics and realizes as Doofy walks out that it's Doofy all along. And while Doofy is walking out of the police station, he has a final transformation where he takes off the mustache, he gets out of his goofy police uniform, and Gale Hailstorm pulls up in a hot red, and he hops right in. He's not playing a mentally impaired person anymore, and in fact is now a smooth cat.
Gorgeous. Like, this is not the same person. Like, what in the world? This was a wild transformation.
Right. And he takes off this kid's police tool belt and throws it up into the air as they drive off into the sunset. And Sheriff and Cindy run out of the station and find his tool belt. And Sheriff's just like, "We'll never find him now." And Cindy, in the middle of the road, screams, "No!"
You would think
and gets ran over.
that they would just like send a police car to chase them.
This police
Right there. And
they're
they're like,
not.
oh, they're gone. They're good.
They don't really care that much. But like you said, it was a great transformation. They may never find him ever.
Actually, that's true. Yeah. Oh my.
So that is the end of the movie.
The end. Yeah. I could tell that was rough for you.
Oh, that was so painful. All right. So this did pass the Bechdel test.
Shocking.
So many times because it's a lot of like Buffy and Brenda and Cindy going back and forth about Buffy, about parties, about other things, about
If this
so on and
movie
so forth.
can pass
So,
the Bechdel test, there's no excuse.
there's no excuse. There's none. There's
there
none.
really isn't.
But to be fair, this also has male nudity in it where others
True.
don't. So
I know. There.
in some ways, it was ahead of its time.
It really was.
In others, it was not.
It has aged very poorly.
Very poorly. So some trivia about this movie. Scary Movie was actually the working title of Scream prior to it being called Scream. And that is the main movie that this movie has parodied. In the lunchroom, the menu at the high school reads "Same old shit." The original script featured a cameo role for Jamie Lee Curtis, the star of 1978's Halloween.
Yep.
And in the script, she would be discovered by Cindy as she's hiding in her closet in her house while the killer was chasing her up the stairs.
Oh, that would be funny.
This was Anna Faris's basically breakout role. She landed the part in the film when she was working at an ad agency and was only a week away from moving to her company's London office at the time. So she could have had a very different life.
Yeah, she could have. Right.
The role of Brenda was originally offered to Aaliyah, but she turned it down. Jared Leto was originally offered to play Bobby during the early stages of casting, but he also declined. The name of the high school is B.A. Corpse High School. The movie poster for Scream is on the wall near the front door of Drew's house in the opening scene. And then Alicia Silverstone of Clue fame was originally offered the role of Cindy Campbell, but then also turned it down. The could have beens, right?
I know. Would have been a totally
I really
different
think
movie.
that, yes, the cast of this is really on point. I can't imagine so many serious actors
right.
doing these roles. Like Anna Faris, like she really does majority of her comedic roles, and the other cast members really comedic stars. So I can't imagine like the vibe of this movie if Aaliyah, Jared Leto, and Alicia Silverstone were in this.
Yeah, totally different.
So on our coveted caffeine scale, on a scale of 1 to 5 espresso shots, how stimulated did this movie keep us? 1, we're falling asleep, or 5, we're buzzing.
Oh my gosh.
You literally fell asleep.
I literally fell asleep towards the end. But you can't deny that there are some extremely shocking moments that you're just like, that are just pierced into your brain.
I think it's more cringe. Like, you're just like, what? How did we think that this was okay?
It was a different time. Apparently.
Very different time.
Oh man, I'm gonna go 3.
Okay.
I'm
gonna go 2.
Okay.
Like, this movie is an hour and a half long.
Mm-hmm.
It is the longest hour and a half of my life. Twice. I was just like, can this be over yet?
Yeah.
Can this be over yet? And I think it's only a 2 because of the shocking cringe value that it has.
Oh yeah.
So I love some of Keenan's other works, but this is just aged so poorly.
Oh yeah, it
has. Any other thoughts on this movie?
I don't. I have nothing. I have nothing.
You're like,
else.
Please don't. I want nothing else to do with this movie.
Oh man. You?
So
any final words?
No. Besides, if you haven't seen it since it came out, don't bother. Keep it in your memories as what you remember it
as
for.
a childhood memory, but don't rewatch.
Yes, don't rewatch.
Else it might ruin it for you.
It will. It really will. Gosh. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good job. I'm proud of you. You got through it.
I got through it one way or another.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to another episode of Caffeinated Flicks. We're a self-published podcast produced and edited by Kenzie.
We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what films you'd like us to cover, what we can do better, or just say hi.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can follow us on Instagram at Caffeinated Flicks Pod or email us at caffeinatedflicks@gmail.com. We'll catch you on the flick side.
While you were gone, I decided to check my email, and I got this email from Dutch Bros that says, "Can we guess your coffee order?" And so it's this little quiz that you take.
Oh, okay. Okay, BuzzFeed. All right. What were you? Okay. Did you finish it?
No, not yet. I'm in the process of it.
Okay.
Let's see. A little sweet. Who's coming with you when you're grabbing your coffee? Writing solo. Why do you usually come to Dutch Bros? Want to treat myself. And sign up for Dutch Bros News. That's how they get you.
Right.
All right. Sign me up. All right. Ooh, gross. All right. So
Ew.
it says
What is it?
my go-to coffee order is a white chocolate dirty chai.
No.
That's your drink. That is not my drink.
Separate, not together, because then that's too sweet. Oh my goodness. That's not a you.
I can't figure out why. I love espresso. I love chai, but I don't like dirty chais, and I hate white chocolate. No.
What? Why? What do you?
I don't know. There's something about, I think it has to do with the reason why I don't really like Mexican mochas either. Like, I don't like cinnamon in my chocolates, or like spices not my chocolates, cinnamon or spices in my coffee and my espresso.
Oh. That's a shame.
I know. It's not for lack of trying, honestly. But yeah, no, this is not my
so
drink.
Far
So
off. Yeah.
it's so far.